Peter, good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning. So we've got the TGA that's expected to give the Pfizer jab a tick of approval this week. In terms of small business confidence, what's that going to mean?
Well, it gives you more confidence that we can plan. That's what it means. And I think we all know small business is about confidence. Confidence is about having certainty around the future. None of us can have 100% certainty around the future in normal times, let alone in these times. So it gives them the opportunity to say, OK, we can predict now that there's going to be an upturn in the economy. We're going to have COVID under more control, and we've done fabulously well in Australia. So it means confidence out there in the small business community. It's still patchy. There's some small business sectors that, no matter what, they're still going to suffer because there's no tourists coming in, etc. But this is good news. Yeah,
I mean, a successful rollout is key, isn't it, to business survival?
Oh, it's absolute key to the business survival, to the whole the health system, to the economy. It's absolutely important that we get it right. We've done really well so far. We're working very closely with the government at the moment on getting information out to people about the vaccines. We have complete faith in our health authorities. We should have. They're world class. And we want to get that message out to people that what they're doing is good and they can be trusted.
We just had Dr. Sanjay Senanayake on the show a short time ago. He believes that we should be pushing ahead with more vaccines, in particular the Moderna vaccine. We should have that one too. Is that something that you would support?
Oh, yeah, I do. I mean, we have an immunologist advising us, Professor Carr from St Vincent, and he translates medical speak into street speak. That's what he's there for. And one thing we understand is the more you do, the better it is. You can't do one thing and say that's going to work or have people attack one thing saying it's not good enough. It's all these things together that we're doing. It's distancing. It's all these things that will make it work and put COVID under better control than it is now.
Yeah.
And I would think that the more vaccines, the better.
Yeah, well, that would be the point. Why wouldn't you?
Well, exactly. And of course, my earplug fell out. Hang on, Peter.
Yeah. Okay. Pop it back in, Peter. We've got more. We've got a few more minutes to chat.
Yeah. Here I am.
Well, okay. Well, that was the point I was going to make. Why wouldn't you do that? If you could, if you've got the money, why not? Why not have Moderna as well?
Well, and my understanding is access to it is that some of the companies are seeing Australia as a low priority because we've got it under control. Now, the message for them is, of course, we've got it under control because we're managing it. Let us continue to manage it by giving us access to what we need.
There have been delays with the rollout across Europe, and the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, said yesterday that he has some concerns about that possibly extenuating to Australia too. Obviously, you would share those concerns too?
Well, we do, and I mean, our membership, as you know, is small business. They're people, they've got families, they've got employees, etc. And this opening up of the border is really an interesting debate among us. I mean, people want tourists to come back in, but gee, we don't want the virus because a shutdown like we've seen in Victoria and even in the northern beaches, it's not good for business. So we've got to get this right so we can open up as soon as we can, but open up properly and effectively so we don't have all these lockdowns.
Yeah, I mean, on that too, the Treasurer, he still wants the states and territories to adopt a Commonwealth definition of a COVID hotspot. He wants to abandon this kind of ad hoc approach that is in place at the moment. Are you in line with him as well?
Oh, absolutely. We've been calling for this since, believe it or not, March. We've been saying we need, a few other groups have too, we're a nation. And imagine if we had 50 states like America, we'd be a mess. Thank God we've only got the 6 because they should be agreeing, not disagreeing. And we've learned a lot of lessons over the last 12 months, a lot of lessons. Let's apply them. And one of the lessons is give people certainty, and certainty means one definition across the nation of a whole range of different.
Yeah, I mean, you've still got the situation where we had the news item last night and early this morning about WA. It's eased its border restriction, but people still have to quarantine in their own places for 14 days. So that's probably not really going to help things. It's not really going to encourage more people to travel to WA. When you consider the fact that numbers are so small across the country at the moment, what's your view of that approach?
Well, we saw in New South Wales, their approach has worked really well. West Australia at the moment, because they've basically got 2 borders, they're very lazy. We need to know how many traces are there in that state. What are their plans for if there's an outbreak? Tell us what they are, and then you can work with industry and open it up. At the moment, the state that's working with industry the best, without a doubt, is New South Wales. and they've been able to learn to live with the virus, and they haven't had to shut things down like everybody else has done. So West Australia, tell us how many cases you've got, tell us what your plans are, publish them, and then we can work with you to help open things up even more. That's the key to this. Yep. Work with the community. Don't just make it up as you go along.
Okay, just on to JobKeeper, just finally, Peter, that ends in March, obviously. You had the hospitality sector that last week raised the possibility of so-called hospo keeper. What do you think of that?
Oh, it's the way to go. In our conversations with government, we agree with the government agrees with us, and Wes Lambert, as you say, from Restaurant and Catering, put up an excellent case, is we need to target where this goes. There's some businesses out there, and some sectors are going gangbusters. So let's not put the money where it's not needed. Let's work together again to target where it needs to go. Now, hospitality needs that targeting. They've got a fantastic industry association, very professional. So work with them. If they don't come up with a hospo keeper, then come up with something else that works for that industry and works for those businesses and works for those employees. So as we come out of this, more and more businesses are still there to grow again and employ people.
Okay, Peter Strong covered off a few issues there, but appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for joining us.